WJAR Channel 10, Providence, New Bedford. And now, from the cornerstone of Southern New England broadcasting, this is Newswatch 10 at 6.
This video was shot close to home tonight. You decide, is it actually the glowing wreckage of a UFO?
A school tries to stop copycat violence.
A lot of attention has been focused over the past several months on the UFO phenomenon, both in the national media and right here in New England.
And if you can suspend your disbelief, some of those stories are pretty chilling. Tonight, R.J. Heim continues his series with what some say was an extraordinary event that happened not too far from our area.
This is the night that most people have been waiting for, some of the folks who've been watching me put together this series. More questions on UFOs and what's out there. What happened in South Haven Park on Long Island just before Thanksgiving 1992? Something happened. A report in the South Shore Press reveals something crashed from the sky that night. What was it? And who was on board? Long Island is just a quick trip from Rhode Island. The plane circles over the area where the Long Island UFO Network says an alien spacecraft was shot down and crashed November 24th, 1992. This video was leaked to the head of the organization, John Ford, he says, by a government informant. After it was confiscated from a member of the Ridge, Long Island Fire Department, the informant viewed it and made a copy. According to Ford, mysterious men have threatened both the informant and the firefighter with death if they keep talking about what happened that night.
The government has techniques for covering up UFO crashes that have occurred throughout the 47-year history of this phenomenon. If you're going to cover up possibly one of the most significant UFO events in history, you will go to any length to distort the evidence in an effort to debunk it.
Is this video of a secret military aircraft or a downed alien spacecraft?
The videos that we have gotten makes us believe there's more off-planet. Also, we have definite information that points that this thing was shot down. We would not shot down our own craft.
Who would have shot it down and why?
We believe that the Star Wars technology has a particle beam. One of the particle beams is at Brookhaven National Laboratories.
At Brookhaven, there's a particle beam that's set up to shoot down UFOs.
This is what the rumors have. This has been picked up from a number of different sources inside Brookhaven that I consider to be independent of each other.
They say pieces came down over miles of Long Island. It's obvious there was a forest fire here off the Sunrise Highway in Long Island. You can see the outside bark of the tree is burned. The Long Island Mutual UFO Network says the forest fire was started by debris from a crashing alien spacecraft.
We know Brookhaven Hamlet Fire Department responded to this location that night through information that's been supplied to us by two informants.
But what does the fire department say?
They have no records concerning any type of fire that night on November 24th, 1992. You explain that to me.
But perhaps the most bizarre images on this video are of what John Ford says are of alien bodies. First at Brookhaven Labs in Yaphank. Men at one of the alleged crash scenes with Mylar bags used to keep victims warm. And off to the side, a strange figure that appears to be dead.
His legs are missing above the knees. He has gray skin. His head is about 3 times the size of a human's cranium.
And this, a fast swing of the video camera shows a fence in the woods, the leaves and the ground, a man's blue jean leg and sneaker, and he appears to be carrying something. We only see what appears to be half a face. Ford says it's of an alien.
Now, this is characteristic of what people have been reporting about these entities having big, black, wraparound, slit-type eyes.
If this is one eye, we flip and reverse the image to get a full perspective. What do you think?
I feel something happened there that night. Whether or not it was a UFO or something from one of our own aircraft, I don't know, but I firmly believe that something did happen. And I believe with the continuing publicity of the event, it will unravel more and more information.
Now, for the record, Brookhaven Labs says they have a particle beam, but it's not set up to shoot down anything, including UFOs. Tomorrow night, the final part of my series, one more case, this one from East Providence, plus the experts talk about the future of the UFO phenomenon. I also have gotten some testing, some metallurgy reports of what John Ford says are pieces of that craft that crashed in Long Island. This piece, the flaky piece, the light flaky piece, is mostly aluminum. The other piece is mostly iron, but it's like 99.98% iron. The person who did the testing for us, an independent lab in this area, says that that is quite unusual. But it's all stuff that can be found on Earth.
Otherwise, that spot is now virtually clean except for the burned trees?
Burned trees.
There's nothing left, no debris.
No debris. There's also portions where the trees have been chopped in half by who knows what.
Wow.
It's interesting how the same imagery keeps coming up in all of the reports of seeing these aliens.
Final part tomorrow night.
Okay, thanks,
looking forward to that.
With that, we'll end this edition of Newswatch 10. Thank you very much for being with us.
NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw is next, and the Newswatch will continue tonight with the night team at 11.
Have a nice evening.
Good night. Well, we've been hearing about it all week, so tonight the question, where do you stand on the UFO phenomenon? Do you think there's anything to it?
Tonight, in the final part of his series of reports, R.J. Heim looks at another case close to home. Good evening, R.J.
Good evening. It's been interesting. I've gotten more out of this series than I thought I would. Over the past few nights on UFOs, What's Out There, we've taken you to out-of-the-way areas of Rhode Island and Long Island in search of answers. Tonight, a case from East Providence and some thoughts on what lies ahead. April 4th, 1992, Catamore Boulevard, East Providence. A shortcut home for a Rhode Island woman on her way back from work.
11:10 p.m. She'd just gotten off her job second shift, and she was heading home. And she just came down the road, and there was this dark, triangular-shaped craft hovering about 15 feet off the ground. And she stopped, looked at it, and panicked and just drove underneath upon her bumper to get home. Just drifted away.
That would just slowly drifted.
No sound, no light.
Just slowly just went on its way.
Sandy and Alan say the woman does not know if her encounter was a sighting or an abduction experience. This fits the profile of what others who claim experiences say happened to them.
Hundreds and hundreds of people in the Providence area are having abduction experiences, whether they remember consciously many details or not. We don't know what the bottom line purpose of all this is.
Why do you think there haven't been mass sightings, one of them landing on the White House lawn?
What you're talking about, a landing on the White House lawn, is a sort of science fiction concept of contact, where two equal species kind of meet together in an awesome sort of situation.
We have come to visit you in peace and with goodwill.
Everybody realizes the import and the magnitude of the situation. In fact, that is not what we see. We don't see contact, as science fiction has told us. What we see here primarily is the exploitation, physiological exploitation of one species by another species. It's not something that we had expected.
If indeed the aliens from somewhere out there are visiting us, the question arises, are they friendly visits?
Turn it up now. Really? Yeah.
The information that I keep getting from the people I'm working with is that they feel they are doing something that is beneficial for the human race as well as beneficial for their civilization.
People sitting on the couch right now who would say, hey, it hasn't happened to me, these people are just all crazy. So your conclusions are that it's not just some kind of mass psychosis that's going on.
That's correct. Well, of course, being crazy, mass psychosis, mass hysteria, psychogenic fugue, all the psychological explanations were very, very carefully looked at for a long period of time and simply does not account for it. Being crazy, of course, is the very first thing you look for. And that has never held water. And then we have people who are perfectly normal who've done psychological testing of every stripe and variety, showing no psychoses that would account for these kinds of hallucinations.
They're really not doing anything that we humans are not doing to subspecies.
So we're their rats, maybe?
We may be their experiments, who knows?
Whatever it is, we don't particularly like it. My best case scenario would be for these beings, if this is happening, to fold up their tents and steal away in the dark of night, leaving us wondering whether it ever happened or it didn't happen and all that. I could accept that. Anything else, and I don't particularly like it.
Now, it's the anything else part that most people don't even want to speculate about. We'll leave that up to you. If you're interested in the UFO phenomena, you can call the Rhode Island chapter of the Mutual UFO Network at 401-885-0366. They have monthly meetings and a newsletter. And that's it.
What do they talk about at the monthly meetings? Sightings or
sightings?
Share experiences?
There are regular phone calls that they get of people who say they saw this, they saw that. I'm having memories of something that happened maybe early on.
And they're talking to other chapters as well throughout the country, right?
Every state has a chapter.
After having worked on this series, are you a believer?
I have not personally had an experience, but I look at it this way. Every star is a sun. Around every sun revolves planets. Who are we to think that we're the only people on a planet that revolves around a sun who might be going out there somewhere in search of answers to maybe their own problems?
Okay. RJ, thank you. Interesting series.
Really interesting. Thanks, RJ. Well, before we say good night.